Welcome back to Untested Builds, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Like and subscribe for a new build every week, comment below to suggest characters you want to see featured on the channel, and join the Patreon to vote in the current poll between Geralt of Rivia, Dante from Devil May Cry, or Kaladin Stormblessed from the Stormlight Archive. Today we're headed back into one of my favorite universes in building, the Planetary of Heart. The ideas guy from the Aang Gang, Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender. For our goals for this build, in the world of Avatar, casters reign supreme. That's basically the opposite of Pathfinder 2e, but we're still going to pretend we're kind of bummed about not having martial magic and still compensate for it by being as useful as humanly possible, both in and out of combat. Second, we've got almost as many weapons as we have skills, most notably our trusty Boomerang, but also we've got whalebone clubs and knives that we can use as well. And third, when bending isn't enough, our friends look to us for some sound tactical advice, or for those mad lad, full Hannibal, let's make a blimp ideas we're also known for. For our stats, we're starting with 18 dexterity. We've only gotten this far by being good at scampering away from danger and actually being able to hit stuff with our Boomerang. 16 intelligence for when dodging and throwing aren't enough. 12 strength to haul around all of that extra gear. 12 wisdom, we were doing most of the hunting for the tribe growing up. 10 charisma, we'll get better at the inspiring speeches as we adventure on, and 10 constitution, we may be tough mentally, but we're still just like a regular guy physically. For our skills, we're going to be legendary in crafting. Not only do we make and maintain most of our equipment, but we're responsible for more than a few noteworthy inventions. Legendary in survival and thievery, this shows like 80% camping and 10% prison breaks. Legendary diplomacy, to become the leader our father always knew we could be. And then master stealth, society, and deception to help with all the disguises we end up donning. Expert sailing lore, we're still from the water tribe after all, and we're trained in basically everything else. We literally put the team on our back. Well, not really, that's Appa's job. Sokka is a human, but he was born at the South Pole, so winter touch humans gain cold resistance equal to half of our level and treat environmental cold as one step less severe. We'll take the lesser scion background for training in diplomacy and heraldry lore that kind of said we were the man of the village, and it kind of inflated our ego a bit. We get the hobnobber feat for free to reduce the time it takes us to gather information during exploration when using our diplomacy skill. We're surprisingly cosmopolitan considering where we grew up. For our ancestry feat, unconventional weaponry gives us access to an uncommon, simple, or martial weapon of our choice, and we treat that weapon as a simple weapon for determining our proficiency. If you're a man of culture, the kukri is cool. If you want Sokka's whalebone axe club thing, or get in touch with your feminine side with the fighting fan. We get that Kyoshi warrior training pretty early in the series after all. For our class, we may run our mouth like a swashbuckler, but we've got the brain of a tactician. Mastermind rogues make creatures flat-footed to them whenever they succeed on a recon knowledge check until the start of our next turn, or for a full minute on a crit. Which is good because with sneak attack, whenever we strike a flat-footed foe with an agile or finesse melee attack or a ranged weapon, we deal an additional 1d6 of precision damage. We also get surprise attack to treat all foes who haven't acted yet in combat as flat-footed to us if we roll deception or stealth for initiative. Rogues also get extra skill feats, so we'll take Bomo for the mid-combat quips. We'll make a diplomacy check against an enemy's will DC, forcing a -2 penalty to their perception, and will saves for 1 minute on success unless they succeed at a retort. But the way our charisma mod is set up, we're pretty likely to critically fail, meaning we'll take the penalty instead until we actually succeed on our own Bon Mo again. For our class feat, we'll use our superior agility against slower foes with nimble dodge for a +2 circumstance bonus to our AC as a reaction to an incoming attack we can see. Big surprise here, we're taking a level 2 dedication, but this one is actually sweet. We'll take the pirate dedication for training in sailing lore. Basically half the show takes place on or above the ocean. We also ignore difficult terrain and uneven ground caused by a ship's movement, and we gain the boarding assault action to stride twice or attempt an acrobatics check to swing on a rope up to twice our speed. And if we use this to board or disembark a ship or a similar vehicle, I'd go ahead and include airships, submarines, and Appas in that list. We can also make a melee strike that deals an extra die of weapon damage. We pillage more than Fire Nation ships. The Forager feat ensures we always gain a success whenever we roll survival to subsist, and we can provide for ourselves and 4 additional creatures on a success, and up to 10 total medium creatures on a critical success in case we need to escort some group through a dangerous chasm or a secret tunnel. Level 3 rogues gain deny advantage, so we're no longer flat-footed to hidden, undetected, or flanking creatures our level or lower, or to other creatures our level or lower using surprise attack. We'll take Improvised Repair to spend 3 actions restoring a broken non-magical item to functionality. If it's not Aang's glider or Appa's saddle, it was 100% maintained by Sokka through all of their adventures, with basically no supplies in the total wilderness. If you can't tell, we're building hardcore survival Sokka. The experience tracker feat lets us track at full speed by taking a -5 penalty to the check, and we ignore the penalty entirely once we're mastering survival. I know we're all a little apprehensive about the Netflix adaptation coming up, but if we get a glimpse of hardcore survival Sokka, you won't hear any complaints from me. Sokka does more than just the surviving and the crafting, he also does the shopping. The bargain hunter feat lets us use our diplomacy to purchase items at a discount by an amount equal to an earned income check, even getting 3 items if our argument is compelling enough. We'll take pirate weapon training to become trained in the scimitar, whip, rapier, and most importantly, the hatchet. Sure, we could just slap a returning rune on a dagger and call it a boomerang, but I think we can all agree that a hand axe that doubles as a thrown weapon is Sokka's true trusty boomerang. Still gonna need that returning rune though. Level 5 rogues gain weapon tricks for expert proficiency in simple weapons, as well as our hatchet, short sword, and fighting fan. And whenever we critically succeed on an attack with our agile or finesse weapons against a flat-footed foe, we also gain the critical specialization effects of our weapons, meaning we can hit adjacent enemies with our boomerang, make creatures flat-footed with our sword, deal persistent bleeding damage with our fan somehow, or knock the target back up to 10 feet with our whalebone mace. For our Ancestry feat, Wave Touch Paragon gives us a 15-foot swim speed. Improvise Tool lets us repair damaged items without a repair kit. Keep in mind, this is like a real repair job that actually restores hit points to our items. We can also craft a load of basic survival and adventuring items from a list without needing a formula. That's not too far-fetched. The instructions to make a 10-foot pole are kind of in the name. We'll take tweak appearances to spend a minute to change our clothing and appearance to gain a +1 item bonus to diplomacy and performance checks. This isn't really impersonating a person per se, but it can help us blend in a bit more in all of these kingdoms and settlements we pass through. We'll increase our boomerang effectiveness with strong arm to increase our hatchet's range increment by an additional 10 feet. I've actually seen some people forget that the range increment isn't the maximum range of a weapon, it works in stages. So now we can throw 20 feet at our full attack proficiency, 40 feet with a -2, and 60 feet with a -4, and so on. Level 7 rogues gain evasion for master reflex saves and critical success results on regular successes, vigilant senses for master perception proficiency, and weapon specialization for 2 extra flat damage on our expert weapon attacks, which is kind of like all of them. We'll take the hefty hauler feat. We carry a lot of weapons, so increasing our maximum and encumber bulk limits by 2 can help offset our lagging strength. The Yang Gang is full of powerhouses, but none of us can really be described as the muscle. For our general feat, Shield Block lets us use the appropriately titled Shield Block reaction to reduce the damage we take on an incoming attack when we have our shield raised by the shield's hardness value. I know I haven't mentioned a shield like at all, but we're still a Southern Water Tribe warrior even if we mostly use our keen wit in combat most of the time. We'll get better at getting in and out of sticky situations with Quick Unlock to use a pick-a-lock activity in 1 action instead of 2. Boomy gets super trusty here with the Bullseye feat to spend an action before a thrown weapon strike to gain a +1 bonus on our attack roll and to ignore any concealed condition and lesser or standard cover our target has, or treat their greater cover as regular cover on that attack. Level 9 rogues gain debilitating strikes to inflict a -10-foot speed penalty or the enfeeble condition until the end of our next turn as a free action whenever we hit a flat-footed enemy and deal damage. We also have great fortitude, increasing our fortitude saves expert proficiency. For our skill feat, Swift Sneak lets us sneak at our full movement speed, and we can sneak while swimming since we have that movement type as well. For our Ancestry feat, Multi-Talented lets us double down on our intelligence modifier with an investigator dedication, giving us the Pursue a Lead class feature. We can spend a minute during an exploration to designate a lead for an ongoing investigation, gaining a +1 circumstance bonus on perception and skill checks to investigate that lead. We can have up to 2 investigations going at a time, meaning we can keep our eyes on the big bad, but also tackle whatever this specific episode is going to bring. We also get training in 2 skills of our choice, but we kind of have everything already, so grab some extra lore skills while you're in that big library. We'll pick up 1 more thrown weapon feat with Far Throw to reduce the penalty for each range increment we throw to -1 instead of -2, meaning we can make those Rava take the wheel 100-foot boomerang tosses by only taking a -5 instead of a -10, or -4 with our Bullseye, or basically a -2 if we got off the recall knowledge. For our skill feat, Inventor lets us make common crafting formulas in our downtime. You won't always be able to make it to a big city to learn how to make everything you might need on your journey. Level 11 rogues gain rogue expertise for expert rogue class DC and 3d6 sneak attack damage. The Incredible Scout feat gives our allies a +2 to their initiative rolls whenever we're using the scout exploration activity, and terrain expertise to let us choose a type of terrain and gain a +1 bonus to survival checks while we're in that terrain. We kind of circle the globe a few times over, but we tend to spend at least a bit of time in any given biome, so feel free to spend a week of downtime to retrain this for whatever you expect next on your journey. We'll pick up some specialty crafting for a +2 bonus whenever we show off our blacksmithing skills. We're using mundane materials for our sword for now, but once Guns and Gears hits, we might be able to craft our own nifty sky metal sword instead. We'll take Investigator Stratagem to gain the Devise a Stratagem Investigator feature. We can use an action to designate a target and roll a d20, then on our next strike against that target this round, we use the result of our d20 instead of rolling a new attack roll. Knowledge and intuition was always on our side, but now we've got strategy too. Level 13 rogues gain Master Tricks for master proficiency in all of our weapons, Light Armor Expertise for expert in armor defense and light armor. We're usually just in the tunic, but we've got some leather armor befitting a Water Tribe warrior for special occasions. Incredible Senses increase our perception proficiency to legendary, and Improved Evasion increases our reflex saves to legendary, gives us regular fails on critical fails, and half damage whenever we will fail on a reflex save. We'll take additional lore to immediately become a master in warfare lore. Our entire childhood was shaped by conflict, and by this point, we've seen it from basically every angle, doing no small part to our time on the road. The Hardy Traveler feat gives us a +10 foot status bonus to our overland travel speed, so we can keep up with Horizon Walker Toph, and increases our maximum and encumber bulk limits by an additional 1. We'll take the Quick Disguise feat to create a disguise in a minute thanks to our Master Deception proficiency. The Known Weaknesses Investigator feat combines our Devise a Stratagem and Recall Knowledge into one action, and if we critically succeed on the Recall Knowledge, we also gain a +1 Circumstance bonus on our next attack roll against that target, and we can give this bonus to our allies on their next attack against that target as well. Level 15 rogues gain double debilitation, so apply both of our debilitations whenever we successfully damage a flat-footed enemy instead of just one effect. Greater Weapon Specialization increases our flat damage on our master proficiency attacks from 3 to 6. We'll continue our theme of making rolls ahead of time with the Battle Planner feat to spend a minute going over information for an upcoming battle and roll a check using our Warfare lore. If the information is accurate, we can use the result of our Warfare lore check in place of our initiative, but we'll sweeten the deal with Incredible Initiative for a +2 Circumstance bonus to all of our initiative checks, no matter if we roll Perception, Stealth, Deception, or Warfare lore. We'll take Backup Disguise to create a secondary disguise we can switch into as a 2-action activity, just in case Wang Fire needs to make another appearance. The Shared Stratagem Investigator feat lets us designate an ally whenever we successfully strike using our Devise a Stratagem ability. The enemy we hit becomes flat-footed to that ally on their next attack before the start of our next turn. Level 17 rogues gain Slippery Minds for master will saves, and critical success results on regular successes. We're getting better and better at keeping our foot out of our mouth. The Courteous Comeback Ancestry feat lets us reroll a failed diplomacy check and take the second result as a free action once per month in any given community or settlement. Legendary Guide gives the entire party a +10 circumstance bonus to their overland travel speed, so I don't have to give every member of the Aang Gang extra travel speed individually. We also get to ignore difficult terrain when calculating overland travel speed as well. We'll take Legendary Survivalist so we can survive anywhere without food or water, and we can endure any environmental temperatures without taking damage. We're going back and grabbing Analyze Weakness to spend an action analyzing a creature we've identified with our Recon Knowledge, and the next time we deal sneak attack damage to that enemy, we deal an additional 4d6 precision damage on top of our regular sneak attack damage. Level 19 rogues gain Light Armor Mastery for master proficiency in light armor and unarmored defense, and Master Strike to force a fortitude save when we strike a flat-footed enemy, enfeebling them on a success, paralyzing them on a fail, and our choice of paralyzing and knocking them unconscious or killing them outright on a critical fail. Not sure how we managed to avoid killing when we throw a literal axe at people's heads, but I'm not going to think too deeply about a Nickelodeon show. We'll finally become one of the village's manly men with toughness to gain max HP equal to our level and reduce the DC of our recovery checks to 9 plus our dying condition value. We also finally make that inspiring speech our dad knew we could with group impression to make an impression with up to 25 targets simultaneously. For our final skill feat, Legendary Negotiation lets us attempt to make an impression and make a request by spending 3 actions even during the midst of combat by taking a -5 penalty to the check. For our capstone, Detective's Readiness lets us gain our Pursue a Lead bonuses to saving throws against the subject of our lead as well. We've taken down people with all kinds of crazy abilities and not a whole lot surprises us anymore. Well, except maybe Psychic Bloodbenders. But now that we're level 20, let's look at the pros and cons of this build. The Mastermind Investigator combination is one of my favorite multi-class combinations in the game. We can roll our d20 ahead of time, then depending on the combined Recon Knowledge check and what the result of that d20 was, we can decide if we want to move to a different position, attack with a different weapon, use our Bullseye if we need a bit more accuracy, or use our Analyze Weakness if we know we're going to crit and want to basically quadruple our damage. Second, getting to pass flat-footed and attack bonuses to our allies is peak Sokka. When we aren't waiting for our Boomerang to come back, we're calling out shots for the heavy hitters to direct their spells at. And third, between legendary crafting and survival, we basically never need to spend money for supplies we need or to subsist, and we can sell stuff we make. but your mileage may vary on that depending on how much travel and downtime your GM actually gives you. For cons, we're a bit of a late bloomer. Just like in the actual show, everyone around us is basically a master spellcaster and martial artist rolled into one, and even the non-benders we run into can muster up a bit more threat than a sharpened boomerang. We do eventually make up for it with raw utility and eventually actual damage, but it comes pretty late. Real late. Second, we really rely on our ability to identify our enemies with recon knowledge, and we've only got legendary proficiency in 2 of the common recon knowledge skills. And we've got no way to get rerolls if we gain no knowledge, meaning you might find yourself being the ideas guy, but without ideas. Thanks for tuning in to another build. If you're new here, why not subscribe? We post a new build every week. And if you want to support the channel directly and decide what we build next, join the Patreon to vote in the current poll between Geralt, Dante, or Kaladin Stormblessed. And until next time, take care, stay safe, and play more Pathfinder.